Hi guys, in this video we will talk about source code versioning and we will mainly focus on Git, but I will also talk and compare Git with other versioning systems. So let's start now. So what is source code versioning? It's normally used by developers and it's used by developers for versioning of the code files they write. For instance, say you're working on a project and you're working on a user story and writing code, and at regular intervals you can check in the code to the version control system. And there are advantages of doing so. So when you check in the code to the source control system, you are sure that your code is safe. So in the event of your system crashing or you accidentally deleting the files, you can still have peace of mind that the code is there in the version control system. And also the collaboration between the developers becomes easier. So you can check in the code to the version control system and other developers can check out. So collaboration becomes easier with the version controlling system. Another advantage is that at any time you can revert to the old version. So for instance, you are working on file A, you check in, that is version 1 of file A, then you do some coding again and you check in again, you get to version 2 of file. At some point of time you realize that version 2 was wrong, or you have did some mistake and something falls over on the front end or back end. For instance, what you can do is you can go back to the previous version, in this case version 1 of file A, and see what changed between version 1 and version 2, and helps you debug the code better. So there are two types of version control system. One is centralized and another one is decentralized. So all the ones like TFS, SVN, and CVS, etc. are centralized version control system. So what that means is that the files are maintained on the server and each file has its own version. On the other hand, decentralized system, the most famous one is Git. And in Git, we make copy of entire repository on the local system. And version, unlike in centralized where each file has its own version, in here we track the version by entire repository. So let me explain what I mean with that. So I'll show you diagrammatically what that means. So in a centralized system, this is how it works. So imagine there are three files, file A, file B, and file C. And initially you make some text and you check out the file, enter some text, and then check it back in. So that is version 1. And then you check out again, and that will be from the server. So this all versions are saved on the server, right? And you check out, you make some change, you say again and check in back. Right. And then again, you check out and check in. So that is how it works in centralized systems like SV and TFS and all. Same way, file B has some text in here. You check out, check in, and file C has some text as well. So in these cases, each file is maintained by this version, and these versions are on the server. So in decentralized system, what happens is that you again have, say, three files, A, file B, and file C. So in this case, assuming you're starting fresh, what you do is you can copy the entire repository on your machine, right? And this is your machine here. So in here, when you copy the entire repository, you get all the files on your, say, C drive, right? And this is your local repository here. And then you make changes to files. Say you make changes to all the three files, you add them and then you commit it to your local repository. So when you commit it, you get a commit number for the whole check-in. Check-in in the sense of the whole commit, right? So unlike SVN and TFS where each file has its own version, here when you commit, the whole commit is based on the entire repository and not individual files. So all this, when you commit it here and add and commit it here, it goes to your local repository here. So there is a local repository which is on your machine, right? And you can decide to make more changes, again commit it, and if you commit it again, say this time you just decide to change file B, right? And file C still remains the same, and you commit it again. So it still again goes to your local repository with this time say commit number 2. All right. So everything is being stored on your local machine currently. But now imagine you want to share it with other developers, the whole code base. You need to push it somewhere which is central so that other developers can use it. So that is where central repositories come into picture. So this can be your GitHub server or Azure repos, right? So these are central repositories, and other devs can actually pull it from here. So what you do is you have this commit 1, commit 2, and then you decide to push it. So you decide to push the whole repository with the commit number. I mean, the latest commit, and the whole repository is committed to the central server, which is nothing but central GitHub, central repository, or you can say like Azure repos or GitHub server. And then if dev2 wants to get those changes, he will have to pull these changes, and then they get their repository into their local machine, and that's how collaboration happens in GitHub server. And that is why Git is called decentralized version control system.